Let's talk about something that a lot of people assume is harmless, maybe even healthy. You see the word sugar-free on a drink label, maybe a diet soda or a flavored water, and your brain breathes a little sigh of relief. It sounds like a smart choice, right? After all, you're skipping the sugar, avoiding the calories, and taking what feels like the responsible route. But what if that zero-calorie sweetener isn't helping you at all? What if it's doing the exact opposite of what it promises? A recent study is casting an increasingly long shadow over artificial sweeteners, specifically sucralose, better known by the brand name Splenda. Researchers at the University of Southern California have shown that this common sugar substitute doesn't just confuse your gut, it tricks your brain. And not in a good way. In a carefully controlled trial involving 75 adults, scientists found that drinking a sucralose-sweetened beverage significantly increased blood flow to the hypothalamus, the brain region responsible for regulating hunger, cravings, and metabolic processes. In contrast, drinking a beverage with real sugar, sucrose, actually suppressed hunger signals. It triggered glucose spikes and hormonal activity that told the brain, "You've had enough. You've consumed energy. You can rest now." But sucralose? It lit up the hunger center in the brain without delivering the calories the body expected. The result? 2 hours later, participants were hungrier than they were after drinking real sugar. And this wasn't some small difference. It was clear, measurable, troubling. This finding isn't just another mild health footnote. It strikes at the core of a major assumption many people make every day, that choosing diet products is a smart, healthy way to cut calories and lose weight. The truth, according to this research, might be the exact opposite. When you consume artificial sweeteners like sucralose, your brain senses sweetness and prepares for incoming calories. But when no energy arrives, it creates a biological mismatch. The body doesn't just shrug and move on. Instead, it begins to crave even more, almost as if it's trying to compensate for being cheated. That's a problem. A big one, especially because this isn't an isolated finding. Earlier animal studies have hinted at this phenomenon, but now we're seeing it in humans. We're also learning that sucralose isn't nearly as inert as we once thought. It's been linked to everything from DNA damage to gut microbiome disruption to impaired glucose tolerance, the kind of stuff that doesn't just affect your waistline but your long-term health. It messes with how your body handles sugar, how your brain regulates cravings, and even how your immune system might respond to inflammation. The study went further. Participants with obesity showed even more dramatic hormonal differences when consuming sucralose versus sugar. Their bodies failed to generate the normal appetite-suppressing hormones like insulin and GLP-1. That's no small issue, considering how many Americans now live with obesity and how many of them rely on artificial sweeteners in a well-meaning attempt to manage their condition. The situation becomes even more alarming when you consider the implications for children and adolescents. The researchers are currently running follow-up studies to determine how sucralose affects developing brains that are already vulnerable, plastic, and highly sensitive to environmental cues. If this artificial sweetener is already messing with the adult brain's communication system, what might it be doing to a child's? This is a critical question, because these sweeteners aren't rare additives anymore. They're everywhere. Diet sodas, flavored waters, sugar-free gum, protein shakes, low-calorie snacks, even some medications. As many as 40% of American adults are consuming these substances regularly, often daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And it's not hard to see how kids are following suit. Let's be clear. These substances were marketed and accepted under the assumption that they were better than sugar. Calorie-free, harmless, even helpful. But that illusion is cracking fast. The World Health Organization has already issued a warning about the possible inflammatory and metabolic effects of sucralose. And yet, the ingredient remains widely used, still perceived by much of the public as a safe alternative. That false sense of security is arguably the most dangerous part of all, because when people believe they're making a healthier choice, they let their guard down. They consume more. They give it to their children. They build long-term habits around it, and now we're learning those habits might be setting them up for failure. So here's the takeaway, and it's not a light one. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose may be more than just ineffective. They may be fundamentally disruptive to the way your brain regulates hunger. They may be tricking your body into craving more, eating more, and ultimately gaining more weight, the exact thing you were trying to avoid in the first place. Worse, they may be quietly rewiring your brain's communication systems over time, and we still don't fully understand the long-term consequences of that. For adults, it's a red flag. For children and teens, it's a blaring alarm. Until we know more, until the science catches up with the scale of consumption, it may be time to rethink that sugar-free label. Not as a green light, not even as a neutral choice, but as a potential warning sign of something much more troubling beneath the surface.